Here in the third block of the Cultural Hall, it is time for a temple ticker. Corey K. Ward, the Pharaoh himself, he messaged me and he said, so much temple news, Richie. Come on, open the doors. Let me in. Let's talk about the temples. Normally July pretty slow, but we do have enough that we thought, why don't we bring Corey back and talk about temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Sir, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Have you had said opportunity to go to a temple recently?
I did go to the Saratoga Springs open house.
And
yeah, it was a good experience.
And you were all alone and it went super quick and it was really quiet. There was no families, nothing like that, right? Just nobody there. Boy, no one even knew about it.
Ghost town, yeah.
I've heard like even in like the most ghost towny times, right? Like when school was still in, like on a Monday at 11 in the morning, it was still just thousands of people.
Yeah, and I went on a Wednesday afternoon, and then it turned out we had a ward activity where we went again on a Saturday afternoon. And so definitely the one on Saturday was busier. But
Sure.
yeah, both of them were almost equally with youth groups and everything and big families and all that.
Well, I'm gearing up. I only have so much patience to extend, and with the Taylorsville Temple in 24, he said, pointing to the outfield, I'm storing up all my patience because I'm going to likely have to work that temple. I've never done that before, but they're going to need some volunteers. It's a big old temple, lots of parking. I'm going to be that guy like the one I mentioned up at Helena, where I'm like, you come in this way. You have to leave that way. That's how I'm hoping I can serve.
Well, hopefully you can educate yourself a little bit on the temple as well, in case anyone has any questions.
Well, what I would like to do is find like a little amphitheater, kind of garden portion to the side of the temple, and gather everyone around and say, here is the knowledge of which I've gained about this temple and the building and the history of the plot of land where we're at. Gather ye around, and I share this knowledge with you. And there's like three guys, and they just don't know when to leave. That's what I hope. That's what I hope for my time.
Well, previous guest of the Cultural Hall, Benjamin Felix, he was one of the architects for that.
For the Taylorsville Temple, that's right.
But go pick his mind and see what he can tell you.
Well, I'm going to go kidnap him. Bring him with us. Why'd you do that? Why is this way? Tell me about this. Is that a frieze? Is that a I'm trying to think of another architecture term. Is that a help me out, Corey? Come on. Is that a gargoyle? That was the best I could do. I don't think that's going to be on the temple. You've gathered things that you feel like are important, things that we should talk about, which means we head to Peru first.
That's right. There'll be some new open house opportunities later this year in Peru. There's the new temple in Lima called the Lima, Peru, Los Olivos Temple. They're going to have an open house on November 10th through December 9th. So 9th month there. And then the dedication will be on January 14th. And so Elder Anderson was recently there taking a photo with all the CES people that live down there. So that would be a good opportunity for everyone in Peru.
Is that thought that he'll be the one to dedicate it, or is it not announced?
I don't think it's actually, I think they announced it as Elder Christofferson.
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah. Let me check that. But yeah.
And then what I think is interesting too, what I didn't think would happen until next year, we're doing Orem in 2023.
That's right. This one kind of got, even though this temple was like 2 years behind Saratoga Springs, just because of how things went, it's going to be ready for the fall. So they'll have a media day on October 23rd, and then an open house through October 27th through December 16th, except for Thanksgiving.
So that seems to me that's what, about 6 weeks?
So and there may be a little Utah County fatigue from such a long open house from Saratoga Springs. So a little tighter of an open house in Orem.
Yeah, that's what, but it surprises me just because of the concentration of members of the church that it's not a little bit longer. I suppose, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I suppose they could extend it, but if they're planning on dedicating on the 14th and already going to the 16th, if they extend it, it's Christmas Eve at the Orem Utah Temple, and I can't imagine that they're going to do that.
Well, one of the reasons why they might not want to have a long open house is because President Nelson said in conference that when the Orem Temple is finished, we're gonna reconstruct the Provo Temple. And so after the dedication of the Orem Temple on January 14th, which by the way, the other one was Elder Christofferson. They did not announce one for Orem, so we'll have to see what that happens there. But on the last day, at the end of the day, on Saturday, February 24th, the Provo Temple will be closed. And basically there'll be a new design going forward for the temple. It'll be probably multiple years be closed. Who knows how long? For sure, they haven't given a timeline. But we did see Provo City. They have a site plan on their website that you can check out on show notes. And this site plan reveals that the new temple will be built basically in front of the footprint of the old temple.
Interesting.
So this confirms what I've been hearing, that the temple will be completely torn down from to the foundation, and then a new temple will be built. Basically, where like everyone comes out of the temple, where there's those two fountains, where you can like see the view of Utah Lake and the MTC. So basically, on that plaza will be the foundation of the new temple, and then the parking lot and everything will be reconfigured. Provo City vacated the street, Temple Hill Drive. So basically that will become part of the parking lot of the temple. And there'll be in the back of the temple, there'll be a nice little plaza with some stairs that go up to the sidewalk. So that's kind of an area behind the temple that hasn't been used in the past that much. So it should be interesting to see what goes there.
Do you think there will be any sort of nod to the old formation of the Provo Temple, or are they just saying we're done? Just like when they did this in Ogden, because the Ogden, Utah Temple used to be like the Provo Temple. And when they took that thing out, they just said, nope, not even a resemblance, not even you would never know that there was another temple that looked like this there. Do you think they'll do anything like that?
I'm sure if you talk to the architects, they'd tell you a little bit. The parking plan is mostly the same. There is still kind of a big plaza with, might not be fountains, but a big plaza area in front of the temple pretty similarly. Some oval shaped fountains, which are kind of like what the old temple was like. So, and then the spire is gold, kind of like the original spire was kind of this goldish color on the Provo Temple. So it's gonna be a lot different, but I'm sure there's some nods to the original.
And a mad rush, of course, between now and February 24th. All the people who got married, who went there, when they served a mission, all the things, there will be the massive pilgrimage to go through one last time before it gets reconstructed or torn down. So okay, lots of temple action for Utah County, but that's not all. Not all. We go to Kansas, which I was just looking around. I didn't think we were in Kansas anymore, but apparently we are.
Well, this is the first temple in Kansas.
Well,
there we go. The site of the Wichita Kansas temple was announced. It's a place in the northwest portion of the city, kind of in one of those neighborhoods where people have their private boat docks and everything. So a nice fancy place. And the temple will be a single story, 10,000 square foot temple. So kind of the similar Helena temple design that we've been talking about so much.
Do we think it'll be modular like the temple in Helena?
It's likely, if that's what they go forward. A lot of these 10,000 square foot designs are being modular, but as we see right now in Elko, Nevada, they're testing out just a non-modular design at the same footprint. And so I guess we'll just see what happens.
Does the idea of a temple with a boat dock excite you like it would me? Like, pull up your boats. There's a little bit of a place.
There is a temple in Manaus, Brazil, where it's right next to the river, and there's a port so that people traveling from the river can arrive to the temple that way.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. See, I think we should do it in Kansas. I'll talk to some people. We'll see what Mr. Felix can't connect us to. Maybe he has some sway. No idea on when that is going to move forward beyond just the site being announced.
No. Next step would be an announcement of a groundbreaking. So
where we put ground on ground with fancy shovels. Puebla, Mexico.
Yeah, last month, a clausurado sign appeared on the gates of the temple, meaning that the government has temporarily suspended construction of the temple. On the banner, they had a list of like 5 different state laws that they called it a delito previsto, which is like basically a planned crime. And so who knows if this is just, government shenanigans trying to get some money out of the construction, or if there's some things that just weren't approved during the approval process. So we'll see how fast. Maybe it's already resumed construction, but we'll see how soon the Pueblo Mexico Temple will be finished, because it's pretty close to being finished.
Now, I didn't hear about that anywhere else. How did you come to find out about that?
There's just pictures posted on the Church of Jesus Christ Temple website, and I just there wasn't any explanation, but I just kind of read what the thing said in Spanish, and so yeah.
See, so you hear it here first, and maybe only in the Temple Ticker on the Cultural Hall. Geez, that's I don't want to say scandalicious, because people will be like, quit trying to make it a thing. But that's at least interesting, and something that you wouldn't hear anywhere else.
There's your scoop. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scoop. Yes. He is our chief scooper, Corey K. Ward, the Pharaoh. Let's go to Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah, things went well there with the approval process. The temple sailed through the Farragut Municipal Planning Commission, and we had some really nice words from people there.
I love one of these quotes. It's so funny.
This is going to be a heck of an architectural place in the town of Farragut. It's pretty awesome, and you only have one other in the state. And so there is actually a Memphis and a Nashville temple. So there are 2 others in the state. This is the 3rd in Tennessee, but we'll take the compliment.
Yeah, and we forgive it because he said one heck of an architectural piece.
That's right.
If he wouldn't have, then we would have taken him to town saying, "Come on, pal, there's 3 of them now."
They had a little bit of debate on where the driveway of the temple would be, because it's a little closer to the one next door, but they allowed it. And then they said it's a granite building. It'll be 122 feet high and 30,000 square feet. And then, so basically they said that the steeple was exempt from the town's height requirements. So they went ahead and allowed that, which is in contrast to another town, which is debating whether to allow a steeple for a temple that is 3 times as small, 20 feet lower. The Cody, Wyoming temple continues to be debated by the Planning and Zoning Council.
Well, it doesn't represent our city's values. Cody is not one of these new fancified, tall building steeple towns. It's essentially what it feels like the argument is, and I don't disagree with them, but I kind of hope that that's what it is. Oh, sure, Jim, you want a big steeple in this town, huh? Well, you wanted a 4-way traffic stop. Like, I hope that that's how the argument is going down.
Yeah, there've been, I can't believe how many stories that, I guess the people in Wyoming, the newspapers and everything, have nothing to write about, but
sure,
just so much coverage on this right now. It's hard for me to follow all the ins and outs, but they're basically debating, like, is that too high? What is too high? And then does the city have authority to regulate the lighting this way? Are we asking the church more than we ask other people to do things? So basically the majority of the board seems to be still unsatisfied. And then there's been stories that the church may just negotiate directly with some sort of agreement. So we're yet to see what has come out of that.
And in my mind's eye, what I really hope happens is some fancified lawyer from the East comes to town, and he's able to convince everybody. And by the end, we're all singing about how high can the spire go? How high? And everyone sort of rallied around, and we were able to do it. And he's got a little bit of a Southern twang, and he just, kind of holds his vest as it gets approved. And they go, "We didn't like it before you came to town, mister, but now we're in favor." And then the whole town celebrates. I don't think it's going to be that way, nor should it probably be that way, but that's how I really want it to happen. So maybe in the future, in the retelling of the Cody, Wyoming temple, that's the story we can get.
I like it. I want to see the movie afterwards.
We'll get you to play the part of the fancified lawyer from the East. So no decision still made, right? Everyone's still kind of talking back and forth.
Seems like it. They're still putting off the decision. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. And then interesting to me that you included this article. I found the article absolutely fascinating from the Wall Street Journal about temples. So tell me what you kind of caught from all this.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, there's other portions of this article that you could talk about in other articles in news, but that there's a temple spin to this as well. And so the Wall Street Journal sat down with the presiding bishopric, and they basically said that the big, investment portfolio that's being talked about is providing a financial foundation that will give the church confidence to build more than 100 temples. The article revealed that they dug up some records and that the Pocatello, Idaho temple cost about $69 million to build. So you can see maybe temples of similar size cost about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bishop Kosei said, we have a grand vision of what the church that is, kind of use the word grandiose. And so basically said, it says, because we believe the gospel has to be taken to all the world. And also we see the church has, we see the size of the church multiple times what it is now in the future. So basically saying we want to expand the church, we want to build many more temples. Because right now there's 133 announced, putting a total of 315. And then it says church leaders expect hundreds more after those. And that President Nelson feels like he can announce all those temples because he knows that there are reserves to maintain these temples for a long time, whatever happens in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you surprised by the $69 million price tag of the Pocatello, Idaho temple?
No, I think that's about standard.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like to me, I think, man, I'm never going to see $69 million in my life at all, unless I go to the Pocatello, Idaho temple and go, look, that costs $69 million. But when you look at that comparatively to the 100 billion plus that the church has, drop in a bucket, barely. Not, I mean, I am no sort of mathematician, but it's not even 1% of the wealth of the church for those temples. And so it certainly can be affordable to do so. But the big thing, and what I always push back when people are like, we should be using every cent to help the poor. I think, well, we do have to have these buildings if we believe that these ordinances have to be done for ourselves and for those who have passed on. Those buildings do have to cost money. So
I do think about when someone came to Jesus with an alabaster ointment,
Mhm.
and someone basically chastised him and said, like, oh, you could have, used money for that ointment to give to the poor.
Mhm.
And the answer was, there will always be poor among you. And so I think that's a principle that, like, no matter what, like, we can throw all the money in the world to help people in poverty, but there's always going to be poor people among you.
Yeah.
And so he says, but this is basically needed for I can't remember. He said needed to anoint me or whatever. And so, yeah, there's some things that are important to the church. And so if the church is serious about its beliefs, they're going to also put money towards temples. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so like I say, I just go, okay, well, if you're not all right with 69 million, okay, I could understand that. Is 20 million all right? No, it should be 10,000. Okay, 10,000 is not going to be a building that, we can anyway. That's the thing. And I don't know that there's an answer, but it is an interesting sort of discussion where you're like, okay, that seems excessive. What doesn't seem excessive that accomplishes the mission of the church, which is also, the redeeming the dead. What would you be comfortable with, and how then are you taking care of the poor? That's the other thing that I always think is some of these people, I know them a little bit more, maybe personally, and I go, yeah, I understand that you look at this this price tag and you go, oh man, they're spending so much money, but what are you doing to help people? Nothing. Perfect. Well, maybe you should start with yourself and do a little something yourself before you start coming after other people. Which, let me go on the other side and speak out of the other side of my mouth. Could they do more? Yes, they could. How much more? I don't know. The levels and all that stuff. They could always do more.
From the reporting about this, they've, I think, shown that the church in like the last couple of years, since this has brought attention, all the financial stuff, that they have increased their amount. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly more visible about it, where 5 years ago, the church would very rarely say, hey, this is a thing and how much money we put. They are not shy about that now. We are putting 30 million towards this organization. We did 5 million to these folks. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Change can
Yeah.
happen. Well, is that it? Are we done? Is that all the temple news?
Yeah, I think things have kind of slowed down for the month of July. In August, they'll be picking up pretty fast. There'll be several open houses starting in the beginning of August in Moses Lake, in Brasilia, Brazil, and a few others. So will be a busy fall for temple dedications and open houses.
Which means we'll have Corey K. Ward, the Pharaoh, back to do another temple ticker of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in the Cultural Hall. Corey, I hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
I hope that if you're sick and weren't able to attend, that you can be able to listen next week.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, we'll be saving a seat for you
On the back row
of the Cultural Hall.
Hall.